Apple had a big week. On Monday, Apple released iOS 14.5, its biggest release since iOS 14 was introduced. There's a ton of new features and some have been highly anticipated, which we'll get into shortly. At the same time, some customers are starting to receive the newly announced AirTags already, a few days before they are supposed to be readily available. Plus, on Wednesday, Apple announced a huge quarter for earnings with $89.6 billion in revenue and $23.6 billion in profit. There were some record numbers for Mac sales at $9.1 billion and iPad sales at $7.8 billion and services revenue at $16.9 billion. Apple is really firing on all cylinders here, and it shows no signs of slowing down. Plus, we're just over a month away from WWDC, where Apple will take us through the future of iOS 15 and macOS 12. It's exciting times. So, what did Apple release in iOS 14.5? Well, let's start with the big one, the long-awaited feature of being able to unlock your iPhone with Face ID while wearing a face mask, as long as you have your Apple Watch on. This, of course, is such a game-changing feature because the global health crisis is still ongoing. Your Apple Watch also needs to be updated to watchOS 7.4, and you need to be using an Apple Watch Series 3 or later. So sadly, the kicker for me is I can't use it. Yes, I am rocking an Apple Watch Series 1. I've been putting some serious thought into upgrading, but I just haven't done so yet. See, while I am a technology geek, I'm also a big personal finance guy. And so generally my line of thinking is that we don't need to be so quick to replace technology that's still working just fine. But unfortunately, those folks who have older Apple Watches just won't be able to take advantage of this feature. Still, it's a smart move that will help a lot of folks in their day-to-day activities. iOS 14 also includes support for AirTags, since those are now out in the world. You'll now find the Items tab in the Find My app, which will allow you to track any AirTag you activate and attach to something that you own. I spoke a bit more in depth about AirTags in my last video about the Apple Spring Loaded event, which you can check out above. Apple Maps now has crowdsourcing for accidents, hazards, and speed checks. While you are driving along, you can simply tap to report an issue as you see it. Presumably, if enough people report an incident, it'll show up for other users in the app. AirPlay 2 can now be used with the Apple Fitness Plus app. This is actually a big deal because previously you could only AirPlay your workout to an Apple TV. And now this opens things up to AirPlay 2 compatible smart TVs. You can now set a preferred music streaming service with Siri. This will come in handy for Spotify users like myself who will now be able to actually use Siri to control our music. There's also new emoji characters as well as interface updates to Apple Music and podcasts. But we can't forget the other big contentious feature, app tracking transparency. You've most likely heard of this by now because it's been a point of contention specifically with Facebook. Why? Because it's going to potentially limit the amount of money Facebook and other applications can make. Basically, it requires developers to ask for and actually get the user's permission to use their phone's random advertising identifier, which is used to track a user's activity across a range of apps and websites. Now, this identifier has always been anonymous, but because Facebook and some other applications have so much information about us already in their database, they have been able to use the tracking data to build a fairly comprehensive profile of us. They can and have, of course, been using this data to sell advertising towards us. It's probably and partly why we get those eerie situations where we think our phone is actually listening to us because advertising algorithms just can't possibly be that good, right? But they are. This feature, which Apple touts as being privacy focused for their users, will certainly be a blow, since the common consensus out there is that if you end up giving people the choice of whether they want to be tracked most people are going to decline that. Now, technically the framework for this feature was already released in earlier versions of iOS 14. So if you're thinking, that's strange, I think I've seen that already before, that's probably true. iOS 14.5 serves as more of a deadline where developers are now required to start getting user permission for tracking purposes. There's lots more to iOS 14.5, but I also want to look ahead to iOS 15. Now, we're going to get a reveal of the new software version in June, so we don't have to wait too long. Apple has been incredibly secretive about iOS 15 and what may be coming our way, and unlike in years past, they haven't had a ton of leaks. However, I do expect over the next few weeks, as we get closer to Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, we're going to begin to hear quite a few more rumors. Now, one thing we're hearing, which I'm very excited about, is the ability to put your phone into different statuses, which will affect how notifications function on your phone. Here's a simple example. I might want notifications to play a sound during the day, but when I put my phone down on my nightstand to go to bed, notifications like emails should come in silently. Apparently, you will be able to select a status through a component in the control center. It sounds like there will be different default statuses like driving, working, or sleeping. Plus, you will be able to create custom statuses and program it exactly the way that you like. We should also expect another round of iMessage improvements. We're a bit thin on details here, but Apple has to keep up with the likes of WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, and it looks like we'll be getting additional features for a more complete messaging experience. It's interesting to hear about developments in iMessage, of course, because Apple is clearly very serious about maintaining competitiveness here. Earlier in the month, we found out that Apple had, at one point at least, been considering putting iMessage on Android, but it was quickly put to rest as the internal conversations indicate iMessage is one of Apple's key competitive advantages, and moving it to Android would do more harm than good. Apple is also expected to release even more privacy features, such as the ability to specifically see which apps are collecting what kinds of data from you. Rumor has it that iOS 15 will drop support for some of the older phones that are currently supported, such as the iPhone SE from 2016, the iPhone 6s, and the 6s Plus. So basically iPhone 7 and newer will be supported. Technology marches on, I suppose. It may be time for an upgrade. Apple has a lot going on in iOS as well as in other areas, but we haven't even started talking about what's coming with the iPhone 13. From what we can tell so far, it's possible we'll see 4 different sizes, a 120 Hz ProMotion display, an A15 chip, and even potentially an in-screen Touch ID sensor to serve in addition to Face ID. But these, of course, are all just rumors. We'll just have to wait and see what we get. Now, that's it for this video. A quick roundup of Apple's earnings, iOS 14.5, and rumored iOS 15 features that are upcoming. Let me know what you think Apple is working on in the comments. Let me know as well what you think about iOS 14.5. Make sure that you like the video so more people can find it, and subscribe to Technology Paul as I post new videos every single Friday. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.